Data functions. In Excel 2013, data functions help you locate specified data from your lists of data. For example, if you have a worksheet that has a list of 1,000 of your employees, along with their ages, you can use a data function to find an employee's location in a worksheet. This is easier than scrolling through countless rows. You can also find the employee and then find their age. In short, data functions give you various ways to search your data. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the match and index functions, handling ref errors, the choose function, and using the max and index functions together. The match function lets you check an item against a list and it will tell you where it appears in the list. Take a look at this spreadsheet here. We're going to use the match function to find the row in the list on the left where the name Bob is found. To find this, we're going to type in the name of Bob here, and then we'll type in the match function. The first value is the lookup value. In that case, it's the name Bob here. This is where we've written Bob's name as the value that we'll search for. Instead of this cell, we could have also typed Bob into our formula. A lookup array is the range of cells where the data will be found. We've selected the column which contains the names. Match type is 0 or 1. 0 is an exact match, -1 is less than, and 1 is greater than. In this case, we're going to type 0. Excel tells us that Bob's name is in row 2, which you can see on the list here, it's the second one in the list. You should note that if there had been 2 Bobs in our list, it would only show the location of the first Bob. The match function only returns the first match. In our example, we searched for text. The text we searched for was Bob. When you search for text, you will search for the exact value or 0 for the match type. You may also include wildcards, as we'll learn about shortly. However, if you're searching for numerical data using the match function, -1 would return the first match that was less than the value you're searching for. 1 would return the first match that was greater than the value you're searching for. In this example, if we replaced Bob with the number 10, a match type of -1 would search for the first value that was less than 10. 1 would search for the first value that was greater than 10. As we mentioned, the match function also has a wildcard feature. The wildcard feature allows you to look for parts of a name. For example, if we're looking for a name that began with MA, we could use the match function with the wildcard feature. The wildcard feature is actually just an asterisk. Let's try this. We can use the same formula as we used just before. With our lookup value, our list of names, and a 0. We are shown a name that begins with MA is located in row 1. If we look at the list, this name is Mary. In addition to this, you can put an asterisk at the beginning of a name. For example, to find names that end in ES. You can put a question mark for a single wildcard character, such as MA?Y. The index function will give you the value of a cell that's at a specified location. Let's have a look at how to use the index function. Notice that the index function has 2 sets of parameters. You can use either one. Let's use the first set of parameters, which is index array, row number, column number. For this example, let's say our array is a column of cells. Let's select those cells here. Next, we're going to enter a row number. Let's enter number 3. The number 3 stands for the third position in the array we selected, or the third row in the array we've selected. Close out the formula by adding the end bracket, and then pressing enter. We can see the result here is Lucy. If we wanted to use the index function to find a value in an area, both columns and rows, we could then use the column number parameter. However, this is optional. Let's see how it works. Let's say we wanted to find a value in a range of cells that contains columns and rows. You would enter the index function, then select the range of cells for your array. In our last example, we only had 1 column for our array. Now we select rows and columns. Next, enter the row number, such as 3, and the column number, which is 2. You can see the value returned is 63. Remember, row 3 is actually position 3. Based on our selected array, that is actually row 4 in the spreadsheet. Column 2 is actually position 2. Position 2 is the age column. If we scroll down to position 3, we can see the value is 63, the same value that we see here. Now let's look at the second set of parameters in the index function. The second set of parameters asks for a reference instead of array. A reference is a group of arrays. In our worksheet here, we have two different lists. One is for friends, the other is for relatives. We're going to select two sets of arrays. One list will be one array, the other list will be the second array. Here's how we enter it. We put it inside brackets for the first array, and then the second array, and then close brackets. We now have our reference parameter. We can now enter a row number, such as 4, then a column number, such as 3. The area number is optional. We can now close the formula. You can see our result is getting older. This is indeed row 4 and column 3, but that's only for the first array, or the area that we selected. If we want Excel to look at the second area we've selected, we need to use the optional area number parameter. We're going to enter 2 for the area number. The area number is determined by the order they appear in the reference section. This will return results in the second area, or the area where we have the relatives, down the bottom here. If you use an index function, then enter a row or column number as a parameter, and that row or column doesn't exist, you'll get a reference error. Let's use the same formula we used here, copy it to a new cell, but enter the number 6 as the row number. As you can see, we now have our reference error. What we want to do is make that error message look better, and to also better communicate what the problem is. As we learned earlier in the course, we can use an if statement to get rid of those error messages. Let's put an if statement into our formula. We're going to use the isRef function to run a logical test. The isRef function checks to see if certain cells reference one another. Now that we've tested for the isRef, we can put the formula in again, and if that returns false, we want to show the out of range message. We now no longer have a ref message in the cell. Now it simply says out of range. You can also find the isRef function by going to formulas, and then more functions, then information, and then isRef. This is how the function arguments dialog box would be shown. The choose function is another lookup function. Whereas the index function deals with ranges or groups of ranges, the choose function deals with individual cells. Let's have a look at the parameters for the choose function. Index num refers to the number of the item in a comma-separated list of values. In this worksheet, we want to search the second term in our comma-separated list. We would enter the number 2 and then select the cells we want to look up, separating each of them with a comma. These are value 1, value 2, 3 and 4, all the way up to value 254. This means you can have up to 254 values. You can also have groups of ranges. Close the brackets when you've finished entering the values and press enter. You can see the return value is mat. This is indeed the second value that we selected. When you use the match and index functions together, you can use them as an alternative to VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. In fact, they can be quicker and easier to use. Let's look at how the match and index functions together. Have a look at our worksheet here. Let's say we want to determine the age of Bob. We can start out by using the index function. Next, we select our array of cells. Then we enter a comma, and then we have the match function. Now we enter the formula for the match function. We want to enter Bob for the lookup value. In the lookup array is the list of friends here. The match type is 0 because we want an exact match. Now we've entered a comma and returned to finish the index function. We now need to specify which column. We want to search column 2. Close the brackets and press enter. As we can see here, we found Bob's age to be 81. You should note, if you need to, you could use another match function for the column parameter as well. In other words, you can use more than one match function when using index and match together.